Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are Team 5, and we are very happy to welcome you to our case analysis for the Saxby's Coffee Cafe. Now, we'd like to begin with a very brief overview of the topics that we are going to be covering today. First, we are going to be talking about some basic background information and the context regarding the cafe itself. Then we will move on to the operational state of the cafe and the issues that are faced during operating hours. After this, we will discuss our future goals for the cafe and the target conditions that we wish to meet. Then we will go through and break down the root causes of the customer's long wait time and how we plan to improve the situation. First, let's discuss some basic context about the shop just to get us all on the same page here. Saxby's Coffee is an experimental learning platform cafe located at Temple University's Fox School of Business. The cafes are all student-led, giving students the unique opportunity to get real-world experience in managing these types of operations. Now, the cafe faces extremely high demand during the break periods that students have between their classes. As found from the research, the peak volume that the cafe needs to serve is 124 customers per hour. This lowers down to 32 customers per hour during the cafe's less busy hours. Now, we will touch on this more in depth later, but this is the first major issue that the cafe faces. We currently cannot meet this demand. Each cafe station also must remain fully stocked during these operational periods. As it currently stands, the cafe often runs out of ingredients and supplies during these busy hours. This means that our essential employees are away from their stations for sometimes minutes at a time. We want to keep our employees at their workstations for as long as humanly possible during these busy hours so that they can focus on making coffee rather than gathering supplies. As it stands, we have identified that the cafe faces two major problems. The first is that during peak hours, customers face long wait times due to bottlenecked supply. The second of which is that the cafe faces issues keeping their ingredients restocked. These problems become very clear once we begin to break down the steps involved in making their most popular item, the vanilla latte. The current breakdown of the vanilla latte making process looks like this. First, the order is taken, and payment is taken by the host. The host then takes the name of the customer and writes it on the cup. After this, the host hands the cup to the Bevex, who pumps syrup into the cup. After this, the cup is handed to the barista, who has to then grind coffee and tamper the espresso. After this is done, the barista pulls an espresso shot while heating up milk. The espresso and the milk are then combined to serve to the customer. This process is done in 3 stations: the host, the Bevex, and the barista. Per order, the host station takes about 34 seconds, the Bevex 7, and the barista takes about 48 seconds on average. Now, while these stations can work in parallel, we are still bottlenecked by the barista's 75 drinks per hour. To solve these logistical issues, we need to set up clear, distinctive goals for what needs to change.
Next, I'm going to talk about our goals. Right now, Saxpice is struggling during the peak hours. Students only have a 10 minutes passing period, so if the line is too long, many people will simply walk away. At the peak hours, the demand is much higher than the capacity, so long wait times are basically guaranteed. At the top of that, staff often leave their stations to restock supplies, which makes the effective capacity even lower. Because of all this, we need a clear, measurable goals. Otherwise, we can't tell whether any improvement is working, and we can't track progress otherwise over time. So, based on these issues, here are the target conditions we set. For customer experience, we want to bring peak waiting time down to 5 minutes or less. That's the where students will actually stay in the line instead of leaving. For demand shifting, we want at least 40% of orders to come through mobile ordering. This reduces the load at the host station and flattens the peak demand. At the same time, we want to cash payments to fall to 3% since cash payments will take longer and slows the line. For operational stability, our goal is to minimize to make a zero interruption longer than 2 minutes during the peak time, and total restocking time should stay below 2 minutes per hour. This addresses the biggest issue of workers leaving the station and causing delays. For quality and labor, we set a target of 99% first pass yield, and the worker utilization should stay below 85% to avoid burnout and maintain consistent performance. And finally, in terms of capacity, our goal is to reach 130 cups per hour, which requires lowering the cycle time about 27.7 seconds per drink. This capacity level will allow the cafe to meet peak hours demand without creating long lines. So overall, these goals give us a clear definition of success, and we will use them later to evaluate which improvement option is the most effective.
First, students only have a 10 minutes passing period between classes. Since the wait time is often longer than that, many students end up leaving line without ordering. During peak hours, demand reaches approximately 124 customers per hour, but the barista's processing time is 48 seconds per drink, which limits the capacity to 75 drinks per hour. This is calculated using the formula capacity equals number of workstation times available time divided by time per drink. Since there's only one barista workstation, we can take 3,600 seconds per hour divided by 48 seconds. The 48 seconds represent the total time it takes for the barista to complete all drink preparation steps. This results in a capacity of about 75 drinks per hour. This creates a clear mismatch where demand is greater than capacity, especially during peak times. Another issue is that staff frequently leave the workstation to retrieve supplies, which further reduces effective capacity and slows drink production. Small supply retrieval trips may take 1 to 2 minutes, but after a high volume rush, restocking can take up 10 to 15 minutes. Overall, these factors result in long wait times and ultimately customers walking away without ordering. Next, we analyze the root causes behind the long wait times by breaking down each steps of the drink making process. When we look at the task breakdown on the right, the barista workstation performs the longest set of activities, a total of 48 seconds per drink. This includes grinding the coffee, tamping, pulling the espresso shot, heating the milk, combining the drink, and serving it. Because this sequence is manual and must be completed in order, it creates the lowest capacity among all stations at only 75 drinks per hour. In contrast, the host and BevX stations have much shorter total work content and far higher capacities. This imbalance means the barista station becomes the bottleneck. It determines the maximum output of the entire cafe. Another contributing factor is workflow interruptions. Baristas frequently leave the workstation to retrieve supplies, which takes about 1 to 2 minutes per trip. After periods of heavy volume, restocking can take as long as 10 to 15 minutes. These interruptions further reduce effective capacity and slow down drink production. Overall, the root cause of the long wait time is that the barista station cannot keep up with peak demand due to long sequential tasks combined with frequent restocking delays. Here we used an Ishikawa or fishbone diagram to break down the underlying causes contributing to long wait times and loss of customers. One major issue is that the cafe had no performance tracking before Anna Arrival stepped into her role. They weren't measuring workflow times, restocking frequencies, or demand patterns. Because of this lack of data, the cafe didn't realize how severe the bottleneck was until problems has already escalated. Once Arrival started observing operations, she began timing each step in the drink making process, and that's when the 48-second barista processing time and the demand capacity mismatch became clear. And their materials, the cafe frequently ran out of essential supplies and didn't keep enough inventory on hand. Restocking after heavy volume could take 10 to 15 minutes, which slowed the operations even further. Smaller restocking trips also took staff 1 to 2 minutes each time, which disrupts workflow during peak hours. For people, barista often had to leave their workstation to grab supplies. Peak hour pressure is also very high, and because the stations aren't balanced, the barista ends up with an uneven share of workload, making them the bottleneck. Looking at methods, the drinking making process is completely manual and sequential. The barista's task alone takes 48 seconds per drink, with no parallel steps. On top of that, there's no standardized restocking routine, which leads to an inconsistent workflow and frequent interruptions. Finally, under environment, students only have a 10 minutes passing period between classes, which limits how long they can stay in line. Customer arrival is also highly variable around class times, creating short periods of intense demand that the cafe is not equipped to handle. Overall, when we combine these issues, lack of measurement, supplier shortages, staff interruptions, sequential tasks, and intense time pressure, you can clearly see why long wait times and walkways are happening.
Now let's take a look at the proposed improvements. So we're looking at a redesigned process flow here. The student will launch an app, and then the student will order whatever they want and then pay for it. After that, the order gets processed and is sent to the host where they can start making that drink and continue on with the order process. So here are some alternatives to look at. So like before, I just spoke about, the first one is create an app where they can do some mobile ordering. And in this case, they can both place their order and pay ahead, which will remove that bottleneck. Then that also frees up the lines for students because they can order on their way to the coffee shop, as well as being able to browse the menu freely online. That is going to take a lot of that time out of the process. The second improved alternative we have is increasing the total supplies on hand. So in this case, there will be less supply runs, a lot less downtime, and it's also an inexpensive option to solve one of your guys' problems. And the third is hiring an additional employee. So this will increase your throughput, also shorten the lines, and I think you'll have higher customer satisfaction. Now, this employee won't be doing just any job; they'll be focused solely on the bottleneck, which is taking those orders. And here are the expected impacts of those alternatives. So the first one, which was the app, again, like I said, it removes that bottleneck. You're going to see a lot less walkaways because those lines will be very, very short, and you'll notice a great amount of the orders being online, and then the process time will significantly be reduced. The second one, which is the supplies, that downtime will be complete or not completely reduced, but very significantly reduced down to almost 5 minutes or so, and the process time will be a lot shorter. And then the third one, again, increased throughput. Lines will be short, and the walkaways will be a lot less. So here is what we determined was the best option, which was creating an app and mobile ordering. Now the cost does look very high at $12,250, but with some calculations, we calculated that the revenue will increase roughly $7,000, and your process speed is going to reduce significantly compared to the original flow. Your customer satisfaction will be much higher. The throughput gain is roughly 30%, and again, that major point of that bottleneck will be completely removed, and you should be able to recoup your costs in about 2.5 months. Now, just to look at the other ones, the cost benefit analysis for the increased supply, you're looking at a total of $500 for the new cost. Your throughput will increase roughly 28%. The process speed will be about 109 seconds, so roughly about the same, and then the roles of the employees will be the same. Looking at the new hire, the estimated cost is about $1,200 a month, where they'll only be working those 4 hours, where it's the busiest times where they need that help. And then your throughput will increase roughly 8.5%. The process speed will remain very close to the same again at 109 seconds. You'll get shorter lines, and your bottleneck will be removed.
For our follow-up plan, we want to confirm that the mobile ordering app truly improves Saxby's operations rather than just looking good on paper. We'll track 4 key performance indicators: average service time, throughput, customer satisfaction, and walkaway rate. For service time, we'll measure how long it takes from when a drink is ordered to when it's picked up, sampling about 20 drinks per day. Throughput will show how many drinks are produced per hour during peak times. Customer satisfaction will be gathered through a quick QR code survey at the pickup counter, and walkaway rate will be based on the number of customers who leave the line before ordering. We'll collect this data every day for 2 weeks and display it in a run chart to compare performance before and after the app launches. If we see consistency, faster service, higher throughput, and fewer walkaways, we'll have strong evidence that our improvement plan worked. Even with a strong improvement plan, there are still a few risks we need to manage. First is technical risk. If the app glitches or payment fails, operation could stall. To prevent that, we'll pilot the test system and keep a manual order option available. Second, adoption risk. Not every student will switch to mobile ordering right away. We'll address this with small promotions and clear on-site signage. Third, operational confusion. Baristas might get overwhelmed juggling both app and counter orders. We'll train staff to separate roles and clearly label the pickup area. Finally, inventory pressure. Higher demand might cause shortages, so we'll monitor supply levels closely and restock more often during rollout. Managing these risks ensures that the mobile app not only reduces wait times, but remains reliable and sustainable over long term.